Imagine falling in love with a married woman, eloping with her, thinking life has finally thrown you a bone, only for her to vanish because she's pregnant with your child. And just when you're ready to drown in heartbreak, the world decides, oh, by the way, here's World War I, have fun in the trenches.
Mother trucker, dude!
Yeah, today's story isn't your typical romantic drama. It's passion, betrayal, and then, bam, muddy trenches, barbed wire, exploding shells, and a whole lot of human stupidity. Buckle up, because this one's going to make you laugh, cry, and maybe even rethink this whole war creates heroes nonsense. We start in France, early 1900s. A young Englishman named Stephen Wraysford arrives in Amiens to live with the Azaire family. Now, the Azaires? Let's just say they're the kind of people who think dinner conversations are Olympic events. And poor Stephen is just trying to make small talk without accidentally causing an international incident.
I'm not obsessing. I'm just
Enter Isabelle Azaire, the beautiful, elegant, and, unfortunately, married wife of René Azaire, Stephen's host. Isabelle isn't exactly living her best life. Her marriage is cold, loveless, and René? Let's be honest, the man probably couldn't charm a goldfish. So, sparks fly. Stephen and Isabelle fall into one of those intense, soul-consuming, probably a bad idea kinds of love affairs. They sneak around, exchange passionate glances across the dinner table while René rambles about whatever boring stuff men like René ramble about. And eventually, yep, you guessed it, they run away together. Cue the violins, right? Wrong. Isabelle, after finally mustering the courage to escape her dreadful marriage and elope with Stephen, discovers she's pregnant and leaves him. Just like that. One day, Stephen's living his forbidden love fantasy. The next day, he's alone with nothing but heartbreak, a French dictionary, and probably a massive hotel bill. Now, at this point, most of us would maybe drown in wine, write sad poetry, or stalk Isabelle on social media. But this is 1910-something. There's no Instagram. There's no therapy. There is, however, a shiny new thing called World War I. And Stephen, he signs up. Because apparently, when life gives you lemons, you go fight in muddy trenches. And oh boy, do we go to the trenches. If you've ever seen war movies, you know the drill soldiers bonding, heroic speeches, a little comic relief. Yeah, forget all that. This isn't the Hollywood version of war. This is the unfiltered, soul-crushing, why is there always mud version. Faulks doesn't spare us a single detail. Rats crawling over corpses. Mud so deep you could probably lose your soul in it. And explosions that turn human beings into, well, let's just say confetti isn't the right word. Stephen, once this romantic dreamer, becomes a man broken and hardened by war. And yet, in the middle of all this carnage, the thought of Isabelle still lingers like a ghost. He clings to it, even as the war chews up everything else. His friends, his sanity, his hope.
And I was a ghost.
Fast forward through the nightmare. Stephen somehow survives the unthinkable. Gas attacks, cave-ins, nights where you pray for dawn and dread it at the same time. And then, a brief furlough, a little vacation from hell. He meets Isabelle's sister, Jean. They talk, they connect, and eventually, when the war is over, Stephen marries Jean. Happy ending? Well, no. Because how do you come back from that? How do you go from mud and blood and screams to afternoon tea and polite society? The truth is, Stephen doesn't. He lives the rest of his life carrying invisible scars, the weight of what he's seen, and the memory of Isabelle.
One eternity
But wait,
later.
there's more. The story doesn't just live in Stephen's time. It jumps forward, decades later, to Elizabeth, Stephen's granddaughter. Elizabeth is a modern woman. She has choices Isabelle never had. She can run a business, live with a man without marrying him, basically live life on her own terms. But when she finds some old notebooks, she becomes obsessed with figuring out who Stephen really was. Through her eyes, we see the contrast between two worlds. Pre-war, where women like Isabelle dreamed of freedom but couldn't quite grab it, and post-war, where women like Elizabeth lived that freedom, though it comes at the cost of all that suffering, all that loss. And that, my friends, is the story. A story of love and betrayal, mud and blood, passion and horror. And if you think that sounds heavy, oh, it is, but it's also brilliant. The book, Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks. Yes, that Birdsong, the novel that's been sitting on my shelf for 3.5 years because honestly, my first encounter with Faulks wasn't great. I read Devil May Care, his James Bond centenary novel, and let's just say, it didn't exactly shake or stir me, so I was scared. But oh boy, am I glad I finally picked this one up. First of all, let's talk about why this book matters. We live in a world that still glamorizes war. Movies, video games, politicians making speeches about honor and glory. But Faulks? He drags you by the collar into the trenches and says, look what war really is. And what is it? It's stupid. It's senseless. It's men, barely out of their teens, slaughtered in the name of pride. It's families torn apart. It's lives shattered beyond repair. Faulks writes it with such raw honesty that you almost feel the mud squelching under your boots, the stench of death in your nose, the fear coiled in your gut.
We gotta get out of here!
But it's not just about the horror, it's about contrast. He sets this epic tragedy against an equally passionate love story. Stephen and Isabel, they're not just two people in love, they're symbols. Isabel represents a world that's already cracking, a world of old rules and quiet desperation. Stephen represents change, rebellion, desire for something more. And yet, like everything in this novel, that dream is broken by the war. Then there's the generational thread. Elizabeth's storyline isn't just a cute framing device, it forces us to think about legacy, about how trauma echoes through time, about how freedom, women's freedom, social freedom, came at a cost we can't even begin to measure. And the writing? My goodness! The prose is lyrical without being pretentious. The imagery is so vivid you'll find yourself blinking mud out of your eyes. When Faulks describes the trenches, it's not just setting. It's a living, breathing monster swallowing men whole. This isn't just a war novel. It's not just a love story. It's a book about what it means to be human when everything human seems stripped away.
You cut me deep, Shrek. You cut me real deep just now.
Now, about Sebastian Faulks. Born in 1953, Faulks is best known for his historical novels, and Birdsong is part of what's often called his French trilogy, though honestly, you can read it as a standalone. He's also the guy who wrote that James Bond continuation I didn't like. But hey, everyone deserves a second chance, right? And with Birdsong, Faulks didn't just redeem himself. He carved his name into the list of must-read authors. So, if you've ever looked at a war memorial and thought about the names carved into stone, if you've ever wondered what it really costs to play the game of nations, read this book. It won't make you love war. In fact, it might make you hate it more than ever. But it will make you feel, and that's what great literature does. Have you read Birdsong? Did it shatter you like it did me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you haven't read it yet, well, consider this your sign. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.